Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I am going to be doing a review of Balthasar's Oddysey by Amin Maalouf. This was a book that completely captivated me. It was a 5-star read and it's one of those books that really does leave you feeling satisfied by the end of it and wanting to immediately start it again. I do just want to give a quick shout out to Ivor again for recommending this book to me. Thank you so much, Ivor. This was definitely one of the kind of biggest successes that I've had when it comes to recommendations from you lovely folks. So thank you again. I am going to be reading more Maalouf as well as a result. He's been on my list forever. And I think for a lot of you who love fantasy, historical fiction, like this book was made for you. So in this review, I will cover, as usual, the plot, the writing style, pacing, characters, themes, and also we'll throw in a little bit of historical context to show why this book is so compelling. Then I'll wrap it up with my closing thoughts and a quick summary on why I think this book is worth your time. If you enjoy literary historical fiction with adventure, philosophy, and a touch of existential searching, you are in for a treat. So I'll give you a relatively quick plot summary, but I don't normally do this in my reviews, but I think it's actually worth saying in this book because I think the plot is one of the things that is so interesting about it. Story begins in 1665 and Europe is on edge. The number 1666 strikes fear in many people's hearts, the number of the beast, foretold in Revelation. Apocalyptic fear is everywhere and people truly believed that the end of the world could be imminent. Our narrator and guide throughout the story is a man who goes by the name of Balthasar Embriaco, definitely said that wrong. He's a Genoese bookseller living in the Ottoman city of Göksun in modern day Turkey. I'll talk more about his character later on, but he's quite a skeptical individual and he's also quite restless and he's kind of wanting an adventure. And so he becomes obsessed with a rare and mysterious manuscript called The 100th Name of God. And this book is rumoured to contain the sacred hidden name of God that will only be revealed at the end of time. What begins as curiosity turns into a quest. Balthasar sets out to find the book, convinced that he has a role to play in the world's fate. His journey takes him across the Mediterranean, through Smyrna, Istanbul, Genoa, London, and beyond. And along the way, he meets an incredibly compelling cast of characters, and he also witnesses war, plague, religious conflict, and even the Great Fire of London. But this isn't just a travelogue, though I do think this is a book for people who love traveling. Each stop along the way forces him to wrestle with questions of belief, doubt, destiny, and the meaning of life in a world that feels on the verge of collapse. So while it is on the surface a book about chasing a rare book, at its core, it's about a man's odyssey through uncertainty, both internal and external. So let's talk about the writing style and tone. Maalouf is first and foremost a storyteller. His background as both a historian and a novelist shines in this book. The prose is rich and evocative, but never overbearing. He can sketch a bustling port in a few sentences or describe the quiet dread of plague-stricken streets in a way that chills you. He has the perfect balance between description and context. It doesn't feel too heavy when you're reading the book. The tone is also a mixture of wry observation and deep sincerity. Balthasar himself narrates, it is told in diary entry format, so we are always in his head. He often comments with a dry humour, which is something that I love in my books, but beneath that you also sense the weight of the questions that he is asking. Is there a meaning to it all? Can humans truly know the divine? What I love most is how accessible this writing is. This is not a dense, slow historical novel where you slog through pages of description. The author writes with clarity, often lyrical, and always direct. He knows when to give us atmosphere and he knows when to move the story forward. Reading it, honestly, almost feels like you're listening to an older, worldly uncle recount his travels, part adventure story, part philosophical musing, part confession. The pacing, I will say, I think some people will definitely have issues with it, but because it mirrors the rhythm of a long journey. Some stretches are quiet and contemplative, like there are days when Balthasar is at sea and he's reflecting on the meaning of life. Other moments are super tense and fast. There are riots, outbreaks, and times when he narrowly escapes danger. This balance, though, for me personally, makes the novel more immersive. We are not only reading about Balthasar's journey, we are feeling the passage of time, the unpredictability of travel, and the sense of waiting for something that may or may not come. It is worth noting, as I said at the start of this bit, if you are looking for a non-stop, action-packed historical thriller, this is not it, and I wouldn't recommend reading it for that reason. But if you enjoy a narrative that ebbs and flows, giving you space to think while still moving towards a destination, then the pacing is absolutely perfect. Now let's move on to characters. At the heart of this novel is Balthasar himself. He's not a hero in the conventional sense. He's not a warrior or a prophet, but he is deeply human. He's deeply flawed, which, as many of you will know who've been watching my channel for a while, know I love that in my books. He doubts, he hesitates, he makes mistakes. That relatability is what makes this story so powerful. He's also very intelligent, very curious, and as somebody who is very curious myself, I could definitely see parts of myself in him as we go on this journey with him. There are also a great cast of secondary characters that really enrich the journey. As an example, there are some family members involved. I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it. And they represent different responses to faith and duty. One is much more devout, the other one is much more worldly. There are many scholars and clerics and merchants and mystics that we come across that gives the book its polyphony of voices. Each person embodies a piece of the 17th century's worldview, and as somebody who is super fascinated in the 17th century and the 16th century, it was an absolute dream for me to read. The women he encounters as well, though a less central part of the book, add emotional and also moral dimension to the story, reminders of family, love, and the personal mistakes amid cosmic fears. And we also get a litany of different religious backgrounds. We get Christian perspectives, Islamic perspectives, and also Jewish perspectives, and then also more spiritual perspectives as well, which I thought was really nicely balanced. These characters form a mosaic of perspectives, making the novel less about one man and more about the entire human condition in a moment of crisis. Let's go into themes. So I think, as usual, a book like this is kind of where it really shines. There are several themes that run throughout the novel. One is around faith and doubt. Balthasar himself struggles with belief. He wants certainty, yet he mistrusts prophecy and superstition. This tension between wanting to believe and not being able to is timeless, and I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. There's obviously a theme around the end of the world. 1666 was seen as apocalyptic, but Maalouf makes us question what the end really means. For individuals, the plague, war, or fire might be a personal apocalypse. The book asks, how do you live when tomorrow could be the end? There's also a big theme around identity and belonging. As a Genoese in the Ottoman Empire, Balthasar doesn't fully belong anywhere. His Odyssey is not just across geography, but across cultures. And this resonates with today's world of migration and hybrid identities. And this was another part of the book that I really loved seeing explored. And the last one that I'll touch on for now is around the power of books and knowledge. At its center is a quest for a manuscript, but the deeper question is, what do we hope to find in books? Salvation, certainty, or simply companionship in our search for meaning? I think these themes really elevate the novel from historical fiction to a meditation on existence in itself. I will just give a brief kind of overview as well of the historical context, because Maalouf excels at grounding this story in history. As some of you will likely know, the 17th century was a time of upheaval. The Ottoman Empire was incredibly powerful, but facing its own challenges. Europe was reeling from the 30 Years' War, from religious schisms and from outbreaks of plague. Trade and exploration were expanding the known world, but also creating tensions and rivalries. And of course, 1666 was infamous because of the Great Fire of London, which completely devastated the city, and apocalyptic fervour was everywhere. People genuinely believed that the world might end. By placing Balthasar's story in this moment, Maalouf captures the anxieties of a world in transition, where old certainties were crumbling and people were desperate for answers. For a modern reader, I think it reads particularly powerfully because we too live in very uncertain times with climate fears, pandemics, and rapid political change. Balthasar's search feels like our own, even though it's set in a completely different time. So why did this book get 5 stars from me? If it wasn't obvious, it's for a number of different reasons, but I think the book just fundamentally works on every level. It's an adventure story, it's historical immersion, and a philosophical meditation all at once. It made me really care about the characters, even the ones that we don't get that much time with. We marvel at the settings, and I reflected on my own questions about faith, doubt, and also meaning. If you love novels that make you think while still keeping you turning the pages, this is absolutely worth reading. As I've said, I think if you love fantasy, if you love historical fiction, I think if you even love literary fiction, I think this is a book that you will really, 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 really love. Ultimately, it's a book about what it means to live when the future is uncertain. And that is something that we can all relate to, regardless of where we're from, what we believe in, what we look like. That is a universal experience. So that's it, folks. A relatively quick review on this wonderful book, but I did just want to give it a shout out. I will be doing another video in the coming weeks and months about historical fiction as a genre in general, where I'll probably come back to this book, but I think so many of you who watch my channel will absolutely love this book and you need to pick it up. So let me know down below in the comments if you have. Apart from either, I've never heard anybody talk about this book. So if you have read it, one of the few minority who have, let us know down below in the comments. And if you haven't, also let me know. I'm also curious if anybody has read any of Maalouf's other works, because he is just an incredible writer and I can't wait to continue to deep dive. So thanks for watching, folks. If you liked it, please do give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Stay safe as always, take care, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.